laughs aplenty as we count down TV's all-time funniest neighbours. From naughty neighbours...
I'm positive they're swingers.
Boom.
...to bold busybodies.
Chop your own damn celery.
Get a life, girl. Come on.
What a bunch of losers. I think they might be naughty neighbours.
We've got our favourite shows of today.
Howdy, neighbour.
She's so psycho.
And the funniest characters of all time.
Hello. They were fabulous.
Oh, don't she talk lovely?
He's clearly nuts, though.
They were just horny guys.
Yes, it's going to be a fun show as we count down TV's funniest neighbours. Those fabulous supporting characters who add so much fun, colour and outrageous moments to our favourite TV shows. Neighbours like these would drive us crazy in real life. But when they're on TV, we can't help but love them.
All right, ugly naked guy.
At number 20 is the neighbour who left nothing to the imagination. The ugly naked guy from the biggest sitcom of the 90s and beyond, Friends.
I love Friends and wanted to be one.
I love that show. I miss it.
Living opposite Rachel and Monica's New York City apartment, the ugly naked guy was featured just 10 times in the first 5 seasons. But he left a big impression.
Just the fact that you actually never know exactly what he looks like, but in your mind you can work out exactly what he looks like.
Ugly naked guy got a thigh master.
Ugly naked guy's laying kitchen tile.
Ugly naked guy lit a bunch of candles. Ugly naked guy got gravity boots. Ugly naked guy's taking his turkey out of the oven.
I'm giggling just thinking about it.
Always the butt of jokes from the 6 friends who perved on him, the identity of the actor who played the ugly naked guy remains a mystery.
When they're going, ugh,
Ew.
you're going, ugh, at the same time.
Let's say from the looks of it, our naked buddy is moving.
Ironically, most of the boxes seem to be labeled clothes.
I think my favourite episode was when Ross finds out that ugly naked guy is going to be moving out of his apartment. He wants the apartment, and Ross goes over and eats muffins with ugly naked guy.
Ugly naked guy's got a naked friend.
Oh my God, that's our friend! It's Naked Ross!
Hi, neighbour.
Hi, Fred.
Drawing us in at number 19 is the loyal and lovable Neanderthal of a neighbour, Barney Rubble from the Flintstones.
Oh, that's my cue.
Barney Rubble, what a neighbour he is.
Pops over, slams the door into your face, comes and eats all your food and then leaves. It's great.
2,500 people in Bedrock, and I have to pick this pebble brain for a neighbour. Hiya, Fred.
Barney bounced onto our television screens back in 1960 as the silly sidekick and next-door neighbour of Fred.
Now, let me get some rest, you poor excuse for a neighbour. Poor Fred. He's a bundle of nerves.
Barney was the ultimate second banana.
Yeah, definitely second banana.
He's a friend that you wanted to have around.
Did I do good, Fred? Great. Just great.
Barney was the offsider, the fall guy, who thought that everything Fred thought of was just fabulous.
Well, okay, if you say so.
Fred has a dumb idea, Barney supports it and actually takes it to fruition.
Boy, put my brains in your nimble fingers, we'll make a fortune.
What you got to remember about the Flintstones is, it ain't about the guys, it's about the girls.
Sounds perfect. Wonderful.
He had a hot wife.
Yes, Barney's wife Betty sure had her share of admirers.
Oh, Betty was hot.
I thought Wilma was infinitely hotter than Betty.
Oh my goodness.
The guys are just pawns on that chessboard, and they're both punching over their weight. I mean, come on.
You didn't call me!
Screening into number 18, it's 2.5 Men's Rose, a stalker who by any other name would smell as crazy.
Howdy, neighbour.
Oh, I love Rose.
An international smash hit since 2003, This hilarious sitcom follows Alan, his son Jake, and Love 'em and Leave 'em Charlie, whose lusty lifestyle created a stalker in Neighbour Rose.
I know what it feels like to be so in love with someone you want to crawl inside them so that you're wearing their skin like a leotard with nipples.
Yeah, anyone that climbs up over your balcony, that's nearly going past nosy neighbour to a whole nother category.
Use the damn stairs.
Hey.
When you're strange.
Get a life, girl. Come on, it's Charlie Sheen. He's gross.
Apparently Rose thinks otherwise, because her one-night stand with Charlie becomes a lifelong obsession.
I think I owe you an apology.
You mean for seducing me with your roguish charms and then dumping me like a bag of old doorknobs?
It's funny because she's studying psychology and yet she's so psycho.
What did I ever do to deserve that?
Rose has some really fresh ideas for stalking. 5 pet ferrets, all called Charlie, is particularly creepy.
We could do a 20-to-1 just on the creepiest things that she's done.
She superglued my testicles to my thigh.
CharlieHarperSucks.com.
Some guys would be so lucky to have a girl like that.
Phase 1, complete.
Pestering their way into number 17, it's horny hounds Lenny and Squiggy from 70s sitcom Laverne and Shirley, set in the cool and cruisin' 1960s.
Gentlemen, shut up, ladies and gentlemen, shut up.
What a bunch of losers.
I always liked Lenny and Squiggy because they made you feel better about yourself.
Look, they're my friends. I'm not proud of it, but they are my friends.
Workmates and flatmates Laverne and Shirley were in a love-hate relationship with their nuisance neighbours, who apparently didn't believe in knocking.
When the door flies open, you know it's Lenny and Squiggy. It could be nobody else.
Hello. I see London, I see friends, I see Shirley.
Oh, no, you don't see anything.
If you took those two guys out of that series, there wouldn't have been a series.
It was slapstick. They played just broad comedy.
In this successful spin-off from hit show Happy Days, the girls repeatedly rebuffed their friends' amorous attentions.
Lenny and Squiggy were like the sort of Fonzies of Laverne and Shirley. They were just horny guys.
Boys trying to get into that, you know, some mischief with the girls. But deep down inside, he was just trying to do that, you know.
Low blow.
Do more neighbours get naked ahead? Find out when we come back.
I think they might be naughty neighbours.
I know it was funny.
I don't think she could take a hint. I'd love to float through life like that.
But you do it in such a sophisticated way.
But hang on the flags, 3 cheers.
In our celebration of TV's funniest neighbours. And we go now to one of the most outrageous sitcoms of the 80s and 90s, and the neighbour who made life an even scarier hell than it was already.
Marcy, let me explain something to you.
At number 16 in our pecking order, it's Married with Children's Marcy Darcy, the scrawny neighbour always running foul of antagonistic Al Bundy.
She was so irritating.
If you just scratch the surface, she was in fact no better than them.
Are you ready to listen to our demands?
Not yet. Now I'm ready.
For 11 seasons, Marcy was the feminist neighbour of the lower class and dysfunctional Al and Peggy Bundy.
Here's Marcy Darcy, who always comes over, always gives a peace of mind, and yet Al Bundy is just this rude, opinionated, misogynistic pig who tells her like it is, but she comes back for more.
Guess what? We're going to have a new addition to our family.
Well, shouldn't you be sitting on it, waiting for it to hatch?
Bit of a masochist. I think she was in for the bit of Bundy.
Just giving the irrits to Al something horrible.
If you were any more of a pig, kids would be putting coins in your back.
I know it was funny.
But it was humiliating. Go home. Don't come over again.
Grooving into number 15 are Bob and Midge from That 70s Show. The kind of neighbours who left us wondering what they were really popping over for.
I think they might be naughty neighbours.
I'm positive they're swingers, so if you're into that, then they're the neighbours to have.
Your mum and I are going out tonight. It's happy hour at Swingles.
What's Swingles?
It's a singles bar.
No, it's a swingers bar.
Yeah, it's both.
That 70s Show was centred on the home of Eric Foreman and his conservative parents, Red and Kitty. Gullible Midge and thick-skinned Bob provided the laughs with their wild lifestyle.
Father and I had sex.
Oh my.
In the car.
Oh my.
And they did it so well.
To me, they're not central to the show, but I mean, they're comic relief. They're there because you know that there are neighbours out there that exist like them.
Perfect casting, particularly Bob.
Na 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 na.
No matter how much Red hates him, he just smiles and keeps coming back for more. In some ways, I think we can all learn something from Bob. That hair, that style.
Bob, if you held him upside down, would work well as a toilet brush, and yet he marries this woman.
Midge was the neighbourhood mum everyone fantasised about.
How do you like Bob's new hair? Isn't it groovy?
It's incredibly groovy, Mrs. Pinciani.
She's drop-dead gorgeous as a neighbour. She's the kind of neighbour every guy dreams of having. I'd love to float through life like that.
Moving up to number 14 is the good life snooty and snappy Margot Leadbetter, played by award-winning British actress Penelope Keith.
I mean, Penelope Keith stole the good life.
She's got great comic timing.
What happened? Get trampled by a herd of elephants?
You run a bee.
Margot, just made a joke.
Hey, Jerry. Really?
The Good Life was very much of its time. You know, people in the 70s were sort of talking about becoming self-sufficient and organic farming and all that type of thing. And so here's this show about a couple doing just that. And this snobby neighbour from next door looks over the fence and screws up her nose and steals the show.
If you so much as sniggers, I'm going straight back indoors.
I still love watching The Good Life because it was a dichotomy of people. And Penelope Keith, who played Margot in it, she'd get a little tiddly and she'd give someone a terrible serve, but she'd do it in such a sophisticated way that it was almost a compliment.
I got it home, I put it on, and I said to myself, Margot, that simply looks cheap and nasty. So I wondered if you'd like it.
And her arrival with always being very uppity, although at core good-hearted.
Over time, the staunch conservative learns to accept her neighbours' hippie ways and cherish their unconventional friendship.
But you are very dear friends, and by now I have risen like a phoenix from the fires of your eccentricities.
Oh, don't she talk lovely?
Have no fear, Kimmy Gibbler's here.
At number 13 is the walking, talking punchline from Full House, the cheerfully annoying girl next door, Kimmy Gibbler.
I got the right stuff. Oh, oh, oh.
Here's a neighbour with an unusual ability to walk into a room and deliver a great one-liner.
And if I don't get these, I'm going to be a total geek. You know how that feels, Mr. T.
Boom.
During the 8-year run of the US sitcom that also starred the Olsen twins and John Stamos, Kimmy's unusual dress sense and smelly feet got up the nose of the Tanner family.
Why, Mr. T? You sucked all the fun out of this room.
Kimmy, I know I should punish you and not your parents, but I'm sending you home.
And Kimmy Gibbler, like the ultimate annoying best friend that lives next door to you that just doesn't know when to shut up.
But I am really, 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 really sorry.
I don't think she could take a hint. I think she was in denial a lot of the time that everyone liked her, even when they would flat out, you know, moan when she entered the room.
Oh, great, Kimmy's here.
I understand that since Obama banned waterboarding, they've been using Kimmy Gibbler at Guantanamo Bay. You know, apparently they crack like that.
Well, I guess I can't argue with you there.
It's a full house. Get out!
What would we do without Kimmy?
One can only dream.
Which neighbours pushed Kimmy back over the fence? Find out when we come back.
I think she's hilarious.
The crazier it got, the more we watched it.
Rotten hell, Amanda.
It's about boundaries.
She can call in if she's my neighbour, I tell ya.
Give me those keys.
No. She was the old busybody.
Angry, power-tripping wench.
Just a sex box, wasn't it?
The naked truth of Neighbours. At 19 is the loyal and lovable Barney Rubble. At 18, a stalker with stamina. At 17, nerdy but neighbourly.
Shut up, ladies and gentlemen, shut up!
At number 16 is the farce of Marcy Darcy. At 15, the naughtiest of neighbours. At 14, a neighbour's good life. At number 13, a full house gets even fuller. And knocking those nosy neighbours out of tonight's top dozen is a woman who would prefer to knock off her neighbours' boyfriends and husbands.
Edie Britt.
Yes, it's sensationally sinful Edie Britt of Desperate Housewives, the spice in the innovative series that look behind the facade of perfect suburban lives.
She can call in if she's my neighbour, I tell ya.
She's one of my favourites because she was just a bitch, wasn't she?
Do you think you could stop by later tonight and take a look at my pipes?
The scandal of Edie's famously erotic car wash scene made us look differently at women of a certain age.
You gotta be kidding. She washed her car yesterday.
Her washing her car in shorts that are shorter than short.
What they've been able to do for women and the kind of the age bracket, you know, because now 40 is the new 30.
You need a character like that in every show.
They're the fun of it. They're the juice of the show.
She's just constantly creating some kind of scandal, and she looks absolutely fabulous while she's doing it.
Anybody that can keep their body looking that good at that age, you do not want to have living next door.
I am not going to apologize for having a healthy sex life. Healthy? I'm going to have to burn every sheet you've touched.
I think she's hilarious because she doesn't give a stuff.
This happy homewrecker, played by Nicolette Sheridan, enjoyed 5 glamorous seasons on air before her shock exit in 2009.
Well, I can't believe that they killed her off because she did it with sex appeal.
It's very sad without Edie.
Well, really?
At number 11, it's the self-centred snoop Dory Evans from the Australian soap opera revolution of the 70s, number 96.
There are people in apartment blocks who are just like Dory. She was the old busybody, sticking her nose in all the places that she wasn't supposed to be.
Good morning, Mrs. Evans. Can I be of assistance? No, Mrs. Fuller, you may not. I do not count myself among your clientele. And as for this assistant of yours, Mrs. Pizza, or whatever she chooses to call herself, I will thank her to keep her conniving hands off my husband.
The late Pat McDonald's portrayal of Dory Evans as a bothersome busybody made her the standout star of the series.
Number 96 was the top-rating show in Australia.
And because it was saucy, everybody had to watch Number 96 when you're a kid. When we had our first male-gay relationship going on, we had the pantyhose strangler, we had bombs going off.
In all this mayhem, the audience loved Dory, voting Pat McDonald 4 Logies in 6 years.
I had a feeling that she had keys to everybody's flat. And when they weren't home, she went through everything. She just had insatiable curiosity.
Dory's infamous line was,
Why wasn't I told?
she also used to mix her words up.
I should definitely be the anonymous choice. But this permissive society, with all its laxative morals, perhaps he developed a cerebral hemorrhoid, yes.
I never use sex to get what I want. I get what I want first.
If you think one neighbour is great, what about a whole show of neighbours? At number 10, it's the wicked and unhinged tenants of the 90s hit series Melrose Place.
Why do they create malicious rumours?
about people and then spread them around with such enthusiasm.
Melrose Place was just a sex box, wasn't it?
Crazier it got, the more we watched it.
Through most of the 1990s, Melrose Place followed the lives of a group of young LA professionals who were all amorous, ambitious and angry. And that was on a good day.
You're a self-centered pig.
The problem with Melrose Place is that they all needed professional help and they all thought they could give it to each other.
People were faking their own deaths and having babies by one another and trying to steal money and friends, family members. There was murder. It just got crazy.
Susan and I are dating.
Your ex-fiancé's ex-best friend is now your love interest and living in your apartment? That's not dating, Billy. That's rebound roulette.
And somewhere in the middle of it all was Amanda Woodward.
Those were my personal files.
Melrose's naughtiest neighbour of all was Heather Locklear's scheming Amanda Woodward, who not only shared the apartment building, but all of the men who lived there.
Excuse me, Warden Woodward. I guess the only one allowed to be loose around here is you.
Wasn't this just such a great part of TV time when Heather Locklear burst on and turned into that angry, power-tripping wench?
You conniving son of a bitch.
People sort of admired her as well as hated her.
Rotten hell, Amanda.
Which neighbours moved past Melrose? Find out after the break.
She's got the worst bogan family you've ever seen in your life.
That was lightning in a bottle, really.
You have no right to question my actions.
What the hell were those people doing in their lounge room all the time?
Come on!
Single digits in our countdown of TV's funniest neighbours. At number 9, it's the woman who thinks she's the perfect neighbour. But she's the only one who thinks so.
My name is Bouquet. B-U-C-K-E-T.
Not placed as high as she would like to be, it's the social climbing neighbour no one can bear. Hyacinth Bucket.
No, it's not Bucket, it's Bouquet.
From the upwardly mobile British sitcom of the 90s, Keeping Up Appearances.
Keeping Up Appearances is a show about that great old British institution, class.
I think the reason that I loved her characterisation so much was because she was just one of those quintessential characters that you just knew existed, but you'd never ever come in contact with.
I often wonder whether Her Majesty has the same problem.
It was like a manual of social climbing, what not to do, I guess.
Yes? Coffee? Yes, of course. The back door, dear.
Hyacinth's pretension and lack of self-awareness make up a character we love and hate in equal measure.
Absolutely can't stand her. If that door opened now, I'd hide.
I think I'd be putting my house on the market after a while because she just has these high standards that she wants everyone to abide by.
Because Hyacinth is really the housewife from hell. The funny thing about it, you see where she came from. She's got the worst bogan family you've ever seen in your life.
And it was this family dynamic that created inspired on-screen tension for snobby Hyacinth.
I will not be found on stately premises in the company of someone who drinks beer in his undershirt.
Battling their way to number 8 are Fred and Ethel Mertz, the neighbours at war from the most innovative sitcom of all time, I Love Lucy.
They were the quintessential unhappy couple.
Some of the original TV neighbours, the Mertz.
They were fabulous as the neighbours.
You gorgeous, exciting woman, you. I pass.
Starring alongside Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz, William Frawley's cantankerous Fred and Vivian Vance's sharp-tongued Ethel were the 1950s most-watched neighbours.
Hi, honey bud.
Oh, shut up.
That was lightning in a bottle, really.
They were sort of this curmudgeon-type little couple, and they'd help more than hinder, but they just kept getting in the way.
Fred and Ethel's on-screen feuding continued off-screen, with the actors growing to dislike each other over the show's 9-year run.
You know how I get on water. I'll be hungry and thirsty and cranky.
What's your excuse on dry land?
Fred and Ethel actually hated each other and barely spoke when they weren't working. And what was great about them, they worked with Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz brilliantly.
And it was this professionalism that created an enduring comic couple.
And they spent all their time over at Ricky and Lucy's place. What the hell were those people doing in their lounge room all the time? Fred and Ethel, back to your house.
I pass.
You can choose your friends, but not your family. At number 7, it's Frank and Marie Barone, the parents and neighbours who are too close for comfort.
You never know when relatives are going to come barging in.
Ah, that's true. I think they're gorgeous characters.
Everyone's got a mum like Marie, eh?
Oh, shut up.
One time.
Shut up.
The night you had the rum candy.
Shut up, man.
For 10 years, the multi-award-winning Everybody Loves Raymond featured the Barone matriarch Marie and her deadpan husband Frank, and their daily intrusions on the lives of their son and daughter-in-law.
You know what, Raymond? You've got no one to blame but yourself because you moved in there and they lived there first, so...
And she agreed to live in the house across the road from his parents. So stop complaining when she tells you how to cook, clean, and bring up your kids.
You know me, Deborah. I'm the last person to want to cause any trouble.
And they're so judgmental.
With something like a spill, I find it best to wipe it up the day it happens.
Every dad feels like Frank most of the time. Over it.
The next time you want to dance, give me notice so I can kill myself.
Overbearing Marie and stubborn Frank weren't familiar with the notion of privacy.
The very idea of the unannounced drop-in is terrifying for most people, and they've got it. You're living next door to them.
What are you doing here? We live here.
It's about boundaries. You've got to set those boundaries.
Thank you, Mom and Dad, you wonderful grandparents. You're not evil at all.
The Neighbours get even funnier after this break.
It's almost a godlike creature from next door.
Hi!
Does that happen in New York City? I don't think so.
That's super annoying.
She could have just gone,
We're dodging.
You're someone who never knocks, never returns borrowed items, and never seems to do a day's work in his life.
I think you are terrific. That's all.
Bursting in at number 6 is Seinfeld's madcap lunatic neighbour, Cosmo Kramer.
He's awesome.
I wonder how they got his hair like that. Do you reckon it's perm?
Oh. Yeah.
Set in New York, the critical and popular hit Seinfeld revolved around the nothing lives of 4 neurotic friends. But Kramer's slapstick comedy added a special element.
He's crucial to that show for his energy levels, for his physical comedy.
He really created a very unique character.
His buttocks are sublime.
Let's get him in the studio today.
He burst in and all of a sudden the scene would take off.
He's more like Jerry's kind of tame pet in some ways, because Jerry can't really explain him.
See, that's karma.
No, that's Kramer.
For 9 years, Kramer erupted unexpectedly into Jerry Seinfeld's New York apartment, helping himself to whatever Jerry had lying around.
More, these pretzels are making me thirsty. Kramer.
I just love that he never knocks. He's just like, bang, he's in the door and whatever's happening with Jerry, he's there eating the cereal, going through the food, just being physical everywhere.
Does that happen in New York City? I don't think so. There's about 8 locks on the door, click, 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 and Kramer's just sliding in every time.
He's one of those classic, you know, what's mine is yours, what's yours is mine, but what is mine is absolutely worth rubbish.
He just takes. He's relentless taker.
I hope you had the time of your life.
Get down! Get down! Coming from nowhere at number 5 is Steve Urkel, the irksome boy next door who went from a minor character to the star of the 90s US sitcom Family Matters.
Did I do that?
Family Matters followed the lives of the average Winslow family and their below-average neighbour, Urkel.
He was always getting into trouble, making things break, making situations worse, but he was always doing it with the best intentions.
Steve Urkel was fantastic because he was a stuttery mess. He, said things that he probably shouldn't have said. He pointed to the obvious.
So, you got a dog!
And you can tell he got some sort of sense of satisfaction out of being annoying.
Let's celebrate! Drinks on me! Yeah!
That's super annoying.
He never could quite work out that he was completely not welcome. I think that's a bit mean because he was a lovable guy.
Take a hike, Urkel. She'd rather eat worms. Okay, some other time then.
Originally written into one episode, this quirky nerd soon became the highlight of the series.
It really ended up being the Steve Urkel show in many ways.
He is, for me, if someone said who's the most memorable neighbour in the history of sitcoms, it would have to be Urkel.
He's transformed himself. He's become this creature that you would hate to be, but you love to laugh at.
Good night, everybody.
Idly ho, slaverinos.
Hallelujah. At number 4, it's Ned Flanders, Homer Simpson's tedious neighbour and reminder of America's Christian heritage.
He's a character that you love to hate, but you can't really hate him because he's so sweet.
He could be far more annoying than he is, but he's such great comic relief on that show.
I just followed the 3 C's: clean living, chewing thoroughly, and a daily dose of vitamin church.
Since 1989, The Simpsons has satirised America's consumerist culture, with nerdy Ned representing the might of the religious right.
Homer's there to shine a light on where society is, and I think Ned's there to shine a light on where a certain sector of the community would like our morals to be.
Thanks, God.
It's another one of those great conflicts in what is probably the best written show we've had on TV for decades.
Ned Flanders is actually like the most meek little man that doesn't ever really want to hurt a fly, but Homer just drives him to distraction.
Simpson, you're starting to annoy me.
Until Hurricane Flanders has a meltdown on a cyclonic scale.
One of my favourite episodes is called Hurricane Ned. Ned, who's been praying, done everything right for God, his house is totally destroyed. For the first time, he gets all this rage out, and he's just like,
Hell, ding dong crap!
In religiously conservative America, The Simpsons has taken big risks in its portrayal of suburban Christianity.
There is an episode of The Simpsons where they're skiing and Ned Flanders comes down the mountain in this very fitted ski suit and leaves nothing to the imagination.
That suit's a little revealing, isn't it?
Well, it allows for maximum mobility. Feels like I'm wearing nothing at all.
Oh, Ned.
Stupid sexy Flanders!
Okily dokily, our top 3 nosy neighborinos are coming up next. 50 years in the business and I have to resort to impersonating a cartoon. Funniest neighbours. And taking 3rd place is a neighbour so nosy that we don't see much more of him than his nose.
Is there anything you don't know, Wilson?
I don't know. Popping up at number 3 is home improvement sage and good neighbour to Tim the Toolman, the mysterious Wilson.
He's Confucius mixed with Plato mixed with Wikipedia.
Yes, it's best summed up in an ancient Chinese proverb. It goes,
Throughout the 90s, Tim Allen played a man's man struggling with family life. But as the show's name suggests, Wilson was there to help with improvements on the home front.
He was a great foil for the buffoonery of Tim Allen's character.
In ancient Greeks had the Oracle of Delphi, and I think Tim the Toolman has Wilson.
You see, Tim, a truly wise man always has more questions than answers.
So, would that make me wiser than you, Wilson?
Well, what do you think, Tim?
It was almost like a godlike creature from next door.
I would love a neighbour who could solve problems for you, who could see you from the outside and direct your life.
He's been one of my best friends for 15 years.
Well, has he, Tim? Or was he your best friend 15 years ago?
Inspired by Tim Allen's childhood memories of his own partially visible neighbour, Wilson's identity remained a mystery throughout the series.
Come on, I just want to see more of your face.
That was a good running gag.
Just painting a self-portrait.
Can I see what you got so far?
Sticking her nose in at number 2 is a character so legendary she appeared across 2 different series. Most recently as Neighbours' Mrs. Mangle.
Everybody needs good I sang that for 7 years. Did you know that? And you know something? I heard it was Mrs. Mangles that got me fired off the show.
You have no right to question my actions.
Aside from her role as a suburban snoop, actress Vivian Grey had already established herself as a wartime busybody, playing Mrs. Jessup in The Sullivans.
I heard you come in last night, stumbling around, knocking things over. The house reeks with stale beer this morning. You were drunk.
This was actually quite incredible that Vivian Grey more or less played the same character in 2 shows set in 2 completely different eras.
Seamlessly moving from one sticky beak to another, Mrs. Mangle has become a household name.
I remember in high school, if you mangled in someone else's business, you were Mrs. Mangle.
Because she became legendary, peeping out behind the blinds.
Well, she was the catalyst for wonderful storylines.
But mark my words, I'll be standing in Ramsay Street waiting for the pair of them.
Why don't they make characters like Mrs. Mangle anymore?
You need a Mrs. Mangle.
Vivian Grey's performances were so believable that the public mistook her for her characters. Sadly, the nasty attention made her leave Neighbours in 1988.
You just be quiet.
And Australia soon after.
Poor Vivian used to have people stop her in the street and turn on her.
Couldn't they leave me with any dignity?
I must admit, I found her so aggravating. If I'd seen her in the street, I would have smashed her too.
She was really a very nice lady.
Yes, when it comes to being a nosy, interfering busybody, few can compete with her. But she's not our number 1. No, that honour goes to a woman whose sticky-beak tendencies stop her beautiful neighbour from having any magic in her life. Meet mere mortal Gladys Kravitz from the 1960s sitcom Bewitched, the neighbour who always saw too much.
I love Gladys. She'd be in the screen for half a minute and she would steal the scene.
Bewitched centred on the life of suburban house witch Samantha, whose spellbinding tricks drove Gladys to unravel over the 8 years the show was on air.
I actually always felt a little bit sorry for Mrs. Kravitz. She always saw something magical happening and then she would scream out, Abner!
She was the classic peep through the curtains kind of neighbour. And to be honest, she had a fair bit to peep at.
Gladys was originally played by Emmy Award-winning actress Alice Pearce, who died after 2 years on the show. She was replaced by Sandra Gould, who stayed until the last episode in 1972.
Bewitched was one of the first shows to kind of pioneer this actor's gone and here's a new one that's characters being played by a completely different person, but hey, no big deal.
Long-suffering Gladys saw strange and supernatural things which she could never explain, endearing her to millions of viewers who felt her frustrations.
Giant?
I mean, look, if Samantha, with all her powers, if she'd wanted to get rid of that nosy neighbour, that bitch, she could have just gone.
I feel sorry for Abner, or as Gladys says it, Abner! And I'm off to get my hearing checked. I hope you've enjoyed tonight's celebration of Funny Neighbours. Join us again next time for another 20 to 1. Until then, good night.
After